people will see you coming in your wheelchair or scooter or with your walker, and they speak to the person who is with you rather than you.
I'd like to begin by asking you, what do you think is the one thing that people need to be most aware of when they think about living with FA?
There's so much that you can't see. So, yes, I'm not great with walking. I'm very unsteady on my feet, but that's easy because that is really visual. People can see that. Um, I guess my speech is very slow and you can hear that. But again, that's something that's quite big for me. We still have the same emotions. So even though physically we can't do what everyone else can do, we're still the same emotionally. We still have feelings. We still have a heart. So yeah, just tread lightly. We know what's going on, and I don't know. I think I'm super smart and in touch with my senses even more because I rely on all my other senses because my feet don't work properly.
One of the things that we did hear from other people living with FA is that they can sometimes be spoken to like a child or like they don't understand, and their impression of that was because of their speech. What's your experience of that been?
Yeah, that's really hard, and it has happened to me, especially in like restaurants and cafes. People will see you coming in your wheelchair or scooter or with your walker, and they speak to the person who is with you rather than you. They look past you or they don't look down to you. And yeah, it's pretty hard, but I look at it and think, well, that's their issue. They obviously need to learn more about diversity in the world. And I guess that's what I try and do is create awareness so people know.
Mm. Yeah, and you do that brilliantly. So that's why we're so pleased to be able to speak to you again. So, can we talk about family? So, I know you've mentioned before about your amazing kids and your amazing husband, but would you be able to share how you being diagnosed with FA has impacted on your family life?
I was diagnosed at 17, so before
Mm.
I met my husband. We met when we were 21, so he knew the FA was a thing. He knew that it could get worse, but I guess it's hard to realize that when he's so young and having fun, and you just don't think that things will change, and they have, and they did. Um, We had kids quite young, so my kids are 16 and 14 now, and I'm their normal. So their mum using a wheelchair or a walking frame or a scooter is normal. Um, that's how they've grown up. And my husband, it's normal to him as well. Of course, we wish sometimes that it wasn't there because it is quite hard and challenging, but it is there. So, yeah, they're used to it. And I think it's made my whole family more empathetic. And they've got the most beautiful manners and they're so caring, my kids. And I honestly believe part of it is because I've got FA or yeah, I think it brings out the good things in the kids.
Yeah, you must be really proud of them.
Yeah.
You always speak lovely about them, so they sound amazing. So you mentioned that you were diagnosed at 17 and you met your husband at 21. So I wondered if you'd mind sharing how did your diagnosis impact on your romantic relationship with your husband? How did you go about sharing that news with him, and what did that feel like for you guys?
Yeah, so I guess I first told him when we were just friends, and he took it really well, and my symptoms were really mild when I was diagnosed. So unless you really, really knew me or were watching me quite closely, you wouldn't be able to tell. So he was fine about that. And before we got married, I got him to have a genetic test to see if he carried the gene. If he carried it and I carry it, obviously, there's a 1 in 4 chance that our kids will have the disease. He doesn't carry it. So that means that our kids can't have it. I guess as my symptoms have progressed, so we're very honest, my husband and I, and I've asked him how he feels about me using walking frame and then the scooter and then the wheelchair, and he says that it is quite confronting, but it's something that he just gets used to. So first of all, it was the walking frame, quite confronting, but he was so used to it. And then the scooter, and now a wheelchair. And every now and then I know he gets a bit sad about that. And it's more seeing me struggle. He wants it to be easy for me. Yeah, so it's a bit hard. I always say that I feel like people who love you the most I'm getting emotional. Find it really hard to watch a loved one go through a disease diagnosis like mine, whereas I know that I'm okay. Like it's hard, but yeah, I'm okay. I'm happy. Whereas I feel that it's hard for my husband to watch.
Yeah, and that's why you're getting emotional, because it is difficult for all of you. But like you say, you're okay, and he just wants it to be easier for you. That's all. So, can we talk about friendships? Obviously, you were diagnosed at a time when, friendships are so important to a teenager. And I was just wondering, how did your diagnosis affect friendships? Did it affect friendships? And how has that played out for you?
I guess when I was diagnosed, I was at the end of my high school journey. So I kind of left that part of my life behind, and then I went to university. And at uni, I met one really good friend, and I'm still really close with her today. So I think I met her like a month after I was diagnosed. So, and it was kind of good because she grew with me. I feel like so now there's been occasions where I've had to go back and see people from high school, and they get quite shocked because I wasn't like this in high school. I was, I could walk and I was good at sport. And so I feel like the friendships I've made since my diagnosis, they're really good because they've grown with me, those people. And especially the ones in the late years, like I've met friends at my kids' school. Um, and when I first took my daughter to prep, I was using a walking frame. So friends I made from there, they knew that there was something going on. Your friendship group becomes smaller and you really focus on those special ones. Like I feel like we've got 3 rings around us. Like the inner ring is them really close friends. Then there's like this middle one, and I visualize it, and they're like they're friends that they're there, but whatever. And then there's the outer ring of the people that you know, but you just keep them on the outside.
But that's a really good way of visualizing it. Your three rings. I'll do that. So I would really like to talk to you about your career and your working life, because I know you're a teacher, and I wondered if you could share with us how your condition has affected your career and where you are at now with your career.
So I went to uni and became a primary school teacher. So I was able to teach without using a walking aid. Um, I didn't really tell my employer that there was something going on, which in hindsight that was a bit silly, but I was embarrassed and scared and thought that I wouldn't be able to work. Um, and then I had kids, so I didn't work, and then went back and did a few emergency teaching roles and realized that it was too hard, too physically demanding. I used to get really tired from a day of teaching. So I retired. Um, I retired because I wanted it to be on my terms. I didn't want someone to tell me that I couldn't teach. So yes, I retired very young.
What about your building? Last time we spoke, you were doing some building qualifications. How's that going?
Yes, I've done that. So I'm officially an owner builder. So the reason being is because we're building our house. I had to go and sit in a room with like 40 tradies. And so I was the only female in there, and I was in a wheelchair. It was just, I was so out of my comfort zone, but I did it. I want my house to make me stand up still. Um, that's just part of I'm very stubborn and determined. And I'm like, if I get a house that's 100% wheelchair accessible, like wheeling under the bench, sit down to do the dishes, I won't stand up. And I can stand for a long time. And so, yeah, our house is, yeah, it's all flat and wide doorways and wide hallways and stuff. But I still need to stand up and do the dishes, do the washing, stand up to brush my teeth.
So, Leah, every time I speak to you, I and I think it's interesting what you just said there about how you are stubborn and determined, and I hear determination definitely, but I always hear such positivity from you as well, and I just wondered, how does living with FA impact your emotional well-being and your mental health?
Yeah, so it definitely does impact my mental health. So I do take an antidepressant, and I've been taking them for about 12 years. Um, I used to feel very overwhelmed, especially in the mornings. I'd wake up, I'd think about all of my appointments and things that I had to do. So yeah, I take that and it just calms everything down, levels everything out. So now I wake up, and even though I have like tomorrow, for example, is a huge day, but I'm okay with that. I'll just do each thing as it comes. So yeah, it definitely does. I get very frustrated um, because I want to be able to do things my myself and quite quickly, and I can't. I want to be able to walk independently, and I can't. And I have a really, really strong feeling that I want to. And some people say that that goes away, but in my situation, it hasn't yet. Um, I still dream that I can walk independently. Um, yeah, I get very frustrated. I do get sad as well. But one good thing about me is I can pick myself up really quickly. And I'm so grateful for that personality trait, because I know a lot of people don't have it. So I'm very lucky that I do. I know that one day I can be really down, but the next day it'll be gone.
And I think it's really important to just allow yourself to have those days sometimes where you do feel a bit low, but like you say, be able to pick yourself back up and carry on as well. Well, listen, Leah, thank you so much for sharing. Unfortunately, we're at the end of our time, but it's been great talking to you again. It's always great talking to you. And I'm sure that everything that we share, that you've shared with us, is going to help people to understand further what it's really like to live with FA.